Welcome along to After Effects Basics with your host, Robert Smith. In this part 3 of the Introduction to Typography, let's see how far we've come so far. What we've done so far, one layer we animated that in and out, added some motion blur, added a second layer, and then rotated some more type in, and then we scaled it and played with the opacity to get rid of it like that. Now I've taken the liberty of setting some type already, and I've already shown you how to do that. So if I turn this on here, you'll see that I've got some more type here, and I want this to come on just after that fades like that. So I'll just move that along a little bit, and I'll grab this layer and just drag it to approximately here. Now I'm being very approximate at this stage, it doesn't really matter, because we're going to move that with keyframes eventually anyway. First of all, we're going to rotate this in, so let's just check where our anchor point is. There it is there. Let's fix that by just selecting that layer and pressing letter A to get your anchor point up. And I want to put it up in the top left hand corner. And I know if I type in 0 in that first number like that and press return, it'll take it right to the left edge. And to move it up a little bit, I'm just going to go to a minus number. As you can see, that my anchor point isn't exactly in the top left hand corner where we want it to be. Okay, then I'll move it into position to about here is where I want it to be, like that. Okay, let's get to animating. So again, we'll move it as soon as into position once we've got the animation happening. So I'll just press letter I to go to the in point of that layer. And what I want to do is do some rotating. So I'm going to rotate like this, and I want to rotate it off the stage like that. So I'm going to rotate it right up using minus numbers like that. And there I'm going to put a rotation keyframe. Let's move along a little bit like that. And at this point here, I'm going to type in 2 rotations and press return. Actually, it won't give me 2, so I need to do it twice. Press 2. Okay, and I know that when I get there 2, I want it to be actually rotated like this. And because I'm a graphic designer, I'm just going to put it on a bit of an angle like this. I think that's a bit too much. And I'll just drag it around like that. So it ends up looking like that. So let's have a look at that. Press the space bar, that goes away, and then on comes this, and it stops on the angle there. How graphic is that? Okay, so let's just, from the start, away it goes. On that comes. Now as you can see, that's coming on far too late and taking far too long, so I'm just going to drag that keyframe to the left and move this whole layer to the left like that, so it starts to spin as the other one fades out. So let's have a look at that. Again, it has to rethink it, that's why it takes a little while. Very nice. That's what we want, a little bit of confusion, and then comes in to very clear with a bit of motion blur on it. Very nice indeed. Okay, I'm going to leave it on there for about, how long? About that long? About a second and a half. I can always change that. This time I'm going to fade it out by pressing letter T for opacity, clicking in there like that, setting it to 100%. I'm simply just going to fade that out to nothing over a little while. Let's do that. Very nice indeed. And away it goes. That's exactly what we want it to do. Come on, stay there for a little while, and then go off. Okay, I've also done a second line. So that's this line up here. If I turn that one on, you'll see it's got lots of lines. Now this is all to do with timing, because most of those screens we looked at only had a few words. This has got a lot of words, so it needs to be on for a while so people can read it. So let's see where we want it to start to happen. We want it to start to happen as that fades out. So I'm going to grab that and move that to about here. I'm going to zoom back out a bit so I can see more of my timeline. Very nice indeed. So I'll just do about here is where I want it to start. And all I'm going to do is do a little fancy trick where I'm going to use the scale. So I'm going to select the layer, press letter S for scale, and I'm going to put a keyframe at that point there. And I'm going to drag it right down until it's, I better check that it's centered first. It's not actually centered, it's a little bit off center. Oh, it's pretty close. Pretty close. Okay, so I'm going to drag it right down to absolute 0, just about like that, and then really quickly, like in less than half a second, I'm going to scale it up to about here, and then I'm going to give it a long scale, so it's going to be really quick to scale up to there, and then over about 4 or 5 seconds like that, I might just scale it up just a little bit, just about that much. So you see the trick. Let's watch that in action. How it does that, that's what we want it to do. Play it again. Very nice. And as that fades out, that's all far too long, so I'm going to make that happen really quickly. I'm going to zoom really quickly at the start. I might move it to the left, the whole layer, just a little bit, because we want it to start as that fades out. Let's play that part and have a look at it. That's what we want. We want to zoom really quickly to start, and then slowly, so we have time to read what it says. Very nice indeed. Okay, so let's watch that in real time by rewinding over here, pressing our RAM preview. Notice this green thing along here. This green thing tells you that we've got all the frames into RAM, and we'll play it back in real time. Looking good so far. That's what we want. That's approximately enough time to read what it says. Actually, I might give it just a little bit more. Always overestimate, or sorry, don't overestimate people's ability to read things quickly. So I'm just going to drag that to the right a little bit, like that, and I'll press the letter K to get exactly on top of that keyframe. And at that point, I'm going to put a transparency or an opacity keyframe, and I'm simply going to fade it out like that, move along a little bit, and fade it back to 0, so it fades out over time as well. So let's watch what we've got so far. We're nearly finished, so I'll just go from the start, and let's see how that fades out. Let's see how hard it is to read. Okay, starting off very dramatically, enough time to read it. There's a little bit of a problem there. I think that could be a little bit longer, this one here, so that's quite fine. With traditional skills, this one here, that's this layer here, and it's locked, so I'll unlock it and let's have a look at it. Let's have a look at the keyframes for that. Okay, great. I'm just going to grab those and move those along a little bit, so it stays on a little bit longer. And now that I've moved those keyframes, everything else is a little bit out of sync. So I just might grab that layer, move it along a little bit, and this layer too, and move it along a little bit. Let's have a look at that. So they just started a bit later because we've adjusted that. You do this all the time, adjust your keyframes. Yeah, okay, that's enough. Yep. And then the long one at there. Okay, that's looking good so far. Well, one more video to go. We'll add a bit more type, and then we'll output it as a movie. Okay, thanks for watching.